My name is Reva Ramadorai. I'm the director of the Thermo Fisher Scientific Junior Innovators Challenge, and I'm here with my colleague, Alex Grace. And we are both so glad that you could join us for today's webinar. Alex and I run the Thermo Fisher JIC competition, and you've probably already received a few emails from us, and we'll continue to send reminders, updates, and helpful resources throughout the application process. You're here because you competed at your local science fair and won a nomination to compete in Thermo Fisher JIC. This means that you're among the top 10% of sixth, seventh, and eighth graders across the United States, which is a huge accomplishment. So, congratulations. Winning a nomination is no small feat. Today, we're going to talk more about what that nomination means and share the resources we offer to help you get started and complete your application.
We know that the application might seem like a lot of work, but we're going to show you some tips and some resources to help you tackle it in an easy way. Remember, you've already done the hard work by doing a research project, so you got this. You might even find that filling out the application is a really fun process, and just by submitting one, you have the chance to win prizes. If you have questions today, feel free to type them in the live chat box on the right-hand side of the screen. We'll answer questions at the end, and you can always email us at jic@societyforscience.org at any time. As a reminder, we're here to help you. There's no such thing as a dumb question. We are not the judges, so don't worry about impressing us. This session is also being recorded and will be on our YouTube page so you can look back on it and so other students who cannot join us today can hear this information. Reva, you are muted.
Thank you, Alex. It's been years of doing this, and sometimes I still need the reminder. So I was just saying that Alex is about to pull up our presentation, and we're going to start talking a little bit about Society for Science, which is the organization that Alex and I work for. All right. So Society for Science is a nonprofit dedicated to expanding scientific literacy, effective STEM education, and scientific research. The Society's vision is to promote the understanding and appreciation of science and the vital role it plays in human advancement, to inform, educate, and inspire. The Society does this by hosting science competitions and publishing Science News, which is an award-winning flagship magazine with the most important science news from all fields and application of science and technology. Science News Explores is the Society's award-winning publication dedicated to students, parents, and teachers, used by nearly 4 million visitors each year. So in addition to the Thermo Fisher JIC, the Society also runs 2 high school STEM competitions that you might be familiar with. The first is the Regeneron International Science and Engineering Fair, which is the world's largest international high school science competition, and the Regeneron Science Talent Search, which is the nation's oldest and most prestigious science and math competition for high school seniors.
Thermo Fisher JIC is made possible by our friends and our sponsor, Thermo Fisher Scientific. Thermo Fisher is committed to cultivating generations of science, technology, engineering, and math professionals that fuel innovation and solve the world's most complex problems. Now let's talk about the competition. The Thermo Fisher JIC is the premier national STEM research competition for 6th, 7th, and 8th grade students. The first part of the competition consists of a written application where you tell us all about your research project. In the application, you'll also be asked to describe your hobbies and interests and respond to a few creative essays. Judges then review all of this information to ultimately select the top 300 junior innovators and the 30 finalists that participate in the second part of the competition, Finals Week. You'll learn more about that in just a bit.
All right, so you might be wondering, how do I become a Thermo Fisher JIC finalist? So the first thing you have to do in order to be considered for the competition is to complete a science or engineering project. Good news is you've already done that step. You must then enter your project into a society-affiliated science fair, And you can check if there's an affiliated science fair near you by searching on the website called findafair.societyforscience.org. It's on one of our resources and our web pages. You'll see that later on. But again, if you're here, you've likely already completed that step as well. And the next one, so already done with three. The next step is to receive a nomination to compete in the competition by placing the top 10% of projects at your science fair. Again, if you've already done so, congrats, huge accomplishment. The next big step is to complete and submit the online application by our deadline, which is June 10th this year at 8 p.m. Eastern Time. If you've not already opened an application, you could do so by going to thermofisherjic.smapply.org. I'll also say that Alex is going to be updating, if not, might already be there, links to all of the resources and application websites and our homepage in the description of this YouTube video. So you can click more down there and you should be able to see all of the websites that we're talking about. So once you've applied, you are in the running to become one of the top 300 junior innovators, and that's going to be announced on September 2nd this year. From those 300, the judges select 30 finalists. So these 30 finalists are invited to finals week of the competition here in Washington, D.C. And during finals week, the top 30 finalists will showcase their research projects and compete as teams in hands-on STEM activities.
Being nominated to apply for the Thermo Fisher JIC is an honor in and of itself. If you have already accomplished that, congratulations. You should be very proud of yourself and your hard work. Being a nominee means you participated in a society-affiliated science fair and were selected as one of the top 10% there. So that's a big accomplishment. The fairs receive a suggested rubric for judging projects and selecting nominees, and you made the cut. As a nominee, your fair should have sent you a certificate, fair password to access the application, and a digital packet full of information about the program and how to apply. In it, you will find the official rules, parent permission form, nominee packet, and a materials checklist. If you did not receive this, please email us at jic@societyforscience.org and we can send you the link.
All right. So to be considered an entrant to the Thermo Fisher JIC, a nominee must complete and submit the application, which is again due June 10th this year. The application asks you about your project, your interests, and your critical thinking skills. And it might seem overwhelming at first, but we have a ton of resources here to help you that we're going to go over very shortly. So know that you can also almost always email us at jic@societyforscience.org with any questions you might have. Myself, Alex, other staff here at the Society check that email account on a daily basis. So we'll get back to you very soon. Applications are submitted as is. Entrants don't need to submit any additional information between submitting their application and the top 300 junior innovators announcement. So we often get questions over the summer, I submitted my application in June. Do I need to give any other information to the judges, to the evaluators, and to be considered the top 300? And then between then and the finalists as well, sometimes we get that question. But your application is the only piece of information that the judges and evaluators need for the selection process. Submitting your application is a huge step. We know that application does require some work, and you're sharing your awesome research projects with us that you've worked so hard to accomplish. To award you for all of that, all entrants receive a free t-shirt and are automatically entered to win prizes like Kindles and other equipment that might help you in new or your same research projects. And then lastly, all entrants join our alumni network. Our alumni are invited to attend special events hosted by the Society and receive other cool opportunities where you can meet peers who share your interests in STEM all across the country. So it's a really great benefit to be considered an alumni of a Society for Science program.
Top 300 junior innovators are selected by our evaluators and are going to be announced on September 2nd. Both top 300 and their teachers win awards. Top 300 junior innovators win a special prize package, including a 125 cash prize, courtesy of our partnership with DOW STEM, a subscription to Science News Explorers, and a subscription to Wolfram Alpha Notebook Edition. Teachers also receive a 1-year subscription to Science News Explorers.
So what exactly does it mean to be a finalist? So the finalists are going to be announced on September 16th this year. And from those top 300 junior innovators, 30 finalists are selected by our judges for an all expenses paid trip to Washington, D.C. to present their research and participate in a series of hands-on team challenges. Finalists Oh, sorry. This is a great time to also mention that the entirety of Thermo Fisher JIC is absolutely free to students. There is no cost to submit an application, and if you are selected as a finalist, there is absolutely no cost for a finalist and one parent or guardian to come to Washington, D.C. for finals week. All travel, accommodations, food, everything is completely covered. Finalists have a chance at winning some pretty cool prizes. All finalists receive $500 to be used for educational purposes and $1,000 for their school to be used to help bolster STEM initiatives at your school so that hopefully more finalists, we'll see more finalists from your areas in future years. We also have awards to attend STEM summer camps, receive iPads, and grand awards ranging from $10,000 to our first place award, the Thermo Fisher Scientific Ascend Award of $25,000. During finals week, finalists have a variety of experiences. Of course, there's judging. That includes presenting your research and the team challenges that I've mentioned before. We have activities all around DC. Students go on monument tours at night, museums around the city. Some of our challenges are hosted in different venues across the city. And then we have fun field trips and opportunities to connect with alumni as well. But most importantly, the biggest benefit and what a lot of finalists take away from the week with us is that it's an opportunity to meet new friends from all over the country who have the same passion for science, technology, engineering, math that you do. So that's really what we always like to say. The top prize is just making it to finals week and experiencing that week together. If you want to know more about finals week and how judging works, check out our alumni webinars from last year. They are a great resource to tell you all about the experience because they've been in those shoes. And you can also watch our highlights video from 2025. We have all of our highlights videos up on the Society's YouTube channel, which is different from this Thermo Fisher JIC one. And you can read our blogs to see what finals week is all about as well.
Now we're going to share some quick tips to help you complete the application. So our first tip for you is, although the application deadline isn't until June 10th, we highly recommend starting your application as soon as you've received your nomination. This way, the details of your project will be fresh and your motivation will still be high. The number one thing you can do is register for an account and enter your FAIR password so you can gain access to the application. If you don't know your FAIR password or you entered it incorrectly, email us and we can definitely help you. We'll just need your name, the name of the fair that nominated you, and the city and state where it took place. We'll keep emailing your parents or guardians and teachers until you submit with encouraging messages. We won't let you forget that you've opened an application and haven't submitted it. Don't worry. So just try. You never know. Just by submitting means you have a chance to be named a top 300 junior innovator or a finalist. We also recommend that you submit early. You can always edit your application even after you submit until the deadline on June 10th. So even if your application isn't perfectly how you want it, you can work on it later knowing we have at least your completed application. You have nothing to lose. To edit your application after you submit, click on a task, click on the 3 dots in the upper right-hand corner and choose Edit. Make the edits you want and then make sure you click Mark as complete. You won't need to click Submit again. You can also find a walkthrough of those steps in our walkthrough videos, which are hosted on this same YouTube page. Our next tip for you is to tackle the application in parts. Once you're familiar with the application, you can tackle it in small pieces. The application may seem long at first. You can always save your work and pick up where you left off. Try completing Part 1, registration, Part 2, student experience, and Part 5, personal interests first. These sections ask for basic information about you, your school experience, and your hobbies and extracurricular activities. You can also easily knock out the permission form upload. Once you've completed these sections, you're already halfway done with the tasks. We recommend that you also start working on your responses to Part 3, the project information section, early on. This section is the longest, and you should take your time to complete it. Write the responses in this section clearly and concisely, as each question has a word limit. You should draft your responses to Part 3 in a separate document to check word counts and make sure to save your work just in case the application glitches and it doesn't save it for you. We will cover Part 3 in more depth in another webinar later this spring, and you'll also find a walkthrough video of it on our YouTube page. We also recommend that you get started on the visual aid earlier than later. Visual aid is your opportunity to share visuals from your project. Whether it's images, figures, charts, or tables, you get to decide what you want to share with the judges. It's limited to 2 pages and it must be uploaded as a PDF. We do not allow pictures of your science fair project board or research paper. So we ask that you distill what was on that, the content that was on those, select a few images that really represent your work well, and include them on the visual aid. We recommend you keep it to no more than 3 to 4 visuals on each page and limit the text. You can refer to the images and graphs in your visual aid when you're writing about your project. For example, when writing your methods, you could say, see figure 1 in the visual aid for a diagram of this, and then name that figure visual 1 in your visual aid. We will also cover the visual aid section in more depth in a webinar later in the spring.
All right, so now we're going to hop into a deep dive of the many resources that we offer to help you throughout the application process. The links to all of those resources, again, can be found in the caption of this video. So our first and best and most important resource to set yourself up for success is our rules. So you must read the official rules before you start your application. You can find the PDF to our rules document on our JIC homepage and the resources page within the application and on the Society's website. Sorry, that's the application homepage, application resources page, and the Society's website. If you've already started or submitted your application, you can still go back and read through it now. You might find something helpful as you continue to work on it. The official rules go over eligibility requirements, what you must submit in order to complete your application. It has our ethics statement, which is really important to read. You agree to that by submitting an application. Has information on team projects and how those, what you have to do if you're a member of a team project. Everyone has to submit their own application. That's a big takeaway there. It also has our visual aid guidelines and information about science fair paperwork. So it's really important that you read through that document carefully before submitting your application. You can always email us if you have questions as well. A few important rules to remember are, like I said, team projects. If you're a member of a team project of up to 3 members, you are eligible to compete, but you must submit separate applications and answer those applications to the best of your ability in your own words. That means application responses should not be copy and pasted between applications for team members. The judges and evaluators want to see your own thinking, knowing that it's still a team project and they expect a lot of the research, right, to be the same. A question that we all often get is, can I add more data? We know a lot of you do your science fair projects, maybe even over last fall, and you compete early in the school year, January, February, March. You might already be thinking about next year's project and adding on to the research that you've done this year. But you need to submit the same project that won you the nomination to Thermo Fisher JIC. So you can add more data as long as as long as the methodology and intent of the project do not change. The next question that we often get is, do I need to cite everything in my visual aid? And the answer is yes. Follow the guidelines and our rules, and on the ISF citation guide, we're going to go through that document in a minute as well. And then the Thermo Fisher JIC, as you all hopefully know, follows the Regeneron International Science and Engineering Fair rules and guidelines. So if you have specific questions, the ISEF rules book, which is linked here, and the rules FAQ are great resources to help answer those questions, particularly if you want to continue this research next year at your affiliated fair or maybe in the future at ISEF. As always, you can email us at jic@societyforscience.org with any questions you have. So speaking of the rules, we have a lot of resources to help you with the science fair paperwork section in the application. So before it gets too late after your science fair, we definitely recommend making sure that you have all of your paperwork together. This is an important part of your application because it helps us know that you were safe when you did your project. We ask that you submit any paperwork that you completed for your local fair, what safety measures you followed, and who gave you the approval to do your project. In the application, you'll be able to let us know where you conducted your research, who approved your project idea, and what types of permissions you received, and whether or not you use certain materials like hazardous chemicals or microorganisms in your research. If you completed paperwork, you'll have the chance to upload it in the application. So again, another reminder, if you don't have copies of your paperwork that you submitted to your fair, reach out and try to get it now. If you can't get a hold of that paperwork, don't worry, we have a backup option for you. You can have an adult who supervised your project or granted permission for your project write us a letter and sign it, saying that you followed safety measures and procedures. They should also describe what those safety measures and procedures were and any formal approval process that your project went through to compete at your fair. Again, the official paperwork from your fair is really the best, but if you don't have it, you have this second option, so don't worry. Remember that ultimately, through the science fair paperwork section in the application, we just want to make sure that you are being safe while you conducted your research, and this paperwork helps us verify that. You can use our Thermo Fisher JIC official rules to see what approvals and documentation you need to provide for your project, depending on what you did. As a note, research that involves human participants or vertebrate animals or potentially hazardous biological agents like bacteria, if you're culturing anything, or hazardous chemicals devices typically need some extra approvals or paperwork from your fair. The Society accepts Regeneron ISEF forms. You might be familiar with that from your fair already, or your fair might have equivalent forms. So they might not look exactly the same, but we just want to see whatever paperwork you submitted to your fair. And the ISEF rules have more specific guidance on projects requiring those pre-approvals I mentioned. And these are just some great resources, again, if you want to continue your research in the future to learn more about how to conduct safe research. Next up, a hot topic, AI usage. So we have an AI usage guide. We know that AI is everywhere right now, and it's very tempting to use it to help with writing a very long application like the Thermo Fisher JIC. But we do have rules in place for what is acceptable AI usage and what is not, which brings us to this resource. So this guide, that's again linked here and in the caption, helps explain how you can use generative AI like ChatGPT, Claude, Gemini, etc., um, for both your research project and the application. Generative AI, like those that I just mentioned, cannot be used to generate application responses or to generate citations in your project. And that includes citations within the application. You might have seen that we ask for what resources you've used as you're conducting your research. And then we, of course, have citations for individual aid. You should not use AI to write any responses in that application or generate any citations. Generative AI can be used, however, in student research projects. So if your project itself was about studying AI, or you were using language learning models to assess large data sets, we've seen that be a common trend amongst middle school projects in the past couple of years. That's okay, but you should disclose that within your application. The Thermo Fisher JIC official rules and the ISEF guidelines for AI usage spell out when it's okay to use generative AI, and when it's not appropriate to use. The ISEF AI usage guidelines contain many frequently asked questions about circumstances, and again, that's linked below. You can see a very tiny screenshot here, but definitely recommend going to that link to read the full guide. And we hope this is a helpful tool, not only for our application, but as you navigate using AI in your daily lives as students. Next resource that we have is our image citation guide. So you might have picked up on a trend now. The Thermo Fisher JIC follows ISEF rules pretty closely. So the image citation guide that we have is the same as the Regeneron ISEF image citation guide. So for the past couple of years, we've been asking nominees to cite images in the visual aid. So all images, this includes graphs, charts, pictures you might have taken. Any image that's going to appear on that visual aid must be credited, even if you are made them. Crediting sources is a very important part of scientific research, so this will help give you good practice for the future. The visual aid guidelines in the application have some directions on how to do so, but again, we recommend checking out the full ISEF citation guide linked in the application as well as um, uh, in our rules document. But if you have any questions, you can always email us.
Next up, so in that digital nominee packet that we hope you received, and again, if you didn't, you can email us and we'll send you a link, there is a planner. So this planner is really great for you to be able to plan out your time for completing the whole application and to give yourself rewards and keep yourself going. It's a long application, and this can help you make sure that you're meeting your deadlines and taking plenty of time to get done what you need to get done. So you can fill it out in the PDF online or print it out. We hope this helps you manage your time and enables you to complete the application before the deadline. You've worked so hard to get where you are now, and you should reward yourself each step of the way as you complete the application. Whether it's by listening to your favorite song, doing an activity you love, or enjoying a special treat, we hope you make time to celebrate the small wins throughout the application, because completing the application is a win in and of itself. As I mentioned earlier in the webinar this evening, we have many video resources from past years and from this year that will help you learn about the application and really see the ins and outs of it. So we know there are many parts of the application, each asking for different things, and we may know you don't know what they're asking for in each step. So that's why we have tons of resources to help you. We have created videos to walk you through each section of the application, which you can find on this YouTube channel and in the resources tab of the application. Know that you can always email us with any questions you might have. Our YouTube page also has past webinars and alumni advice videos. If you're looking for some motivation and inspiration, take it from alumni who are in your shoes. It's definitely worth applying. Many alumni felt just as unsure about how far they'd go as you might feel now, but you never know if you don't try. Stay tuned in for a new alumni webinar coming later in the spring. There are also resources that are within the application, which this is a screenshot of it, and we'll also show you how to get there in a little bit. You can access several resources within the application itself. Our resources page contains links to many of the resources we've already discussed, like the walkthrough videos, the official rules, the parent permission form, past webinars, and the link for this will also go in there. And the FAQ page, which provides answers to frequent questions and solutions to common issues that folks run into when completing the application. One of the most common things we get asked about, which is featured in the FAQ, but want to make sure we feature here, is converting documents to PDFs. So You must submit your visual aid, science fair paperwork, and parent permission form in PDF format. If you have these documents printed, you can scan them with a free app from a phone, like Cam Scanners, a couple other ones. Then you can send yourself the image file and convert that file to PDF using a converter app or website, such as the Adobe free PDF conversion that is also linked in the FAQ in the application. And the FAQ page also includes a description of how to convert these documents, and from a couple of different sites and different platforms will show you how to convert them. And as always, if you're having trouble converting any of these documents to PDFs, email us and we can help you. So as we mentioned a little bit before, there are lots of resources on our JIC homepage. A lot of the resources we've been talking about, you can find on our homepage. So at that link down there, societyforscience.org/JIC, you will find links to many of the resources we've discussed, plus a few more. So on the For Nominees page, which you can, if you scroll down on that homepage, you'll find a PDF of the application that you can use to help you plan your responses and see how best to break up the application into manageable bits. This is especially helpful because there are some sections, like Part 3, that are 2 parts. And if you just look at it in the application, you won't necessarily be able to see the second half until you complete the first half. But the PDF lets you see the whole thing all at once. We recommend using this to help you draft your responses to Part 3 and Part 4, that is the project information section and the essay questions, in a separate document before entering into the application to save your work and make sure your responses fit within the word limits. This page also includes key dates in the competition, links to video resources, and a link to our rules. The eligibility and important information page includes important information about our prizes at each stage of the competition, how to get started on an application, eligibility requirements, and how to get involved in Thermo Fisher JIC if you have not yet participated in an affiliated fair or are interested in participating in an affiliated fair in your region, or affiliating a fair that isn't affiliated yet. The scientific integrity page includes information about our scientific integrity policies and the responsibilities of students. We will go more in depth about scientific integrity in a webinar later this spring as well. You can find links to our homepage and links to each of these subpages in the caption of this video.
All right, so I'm going to start sharing my screen so we can navigate through some of these resources and how to access them. We know you have the direct links, but sometimes it's helpful to just see what it looks like, so you know you're in the right spot. And we have a lot of different resources like we just went over. So let's see where my screen. All right. Okay, so first up, this is the digital nominee packet. Again, if you don't have the link to it, you can always email us. This view looks a little bit different since I'm logged in our admin account right now, and my computer is doing something funky with the cursor there. But this is where you'll find the nominee packet, our official rules document. We have a checklist here that actually I recommend opening up first because it walks you through all of the contents in this digital folder. So the nominee packet, the rules, we have a copy of the parent guardian permission form here. We also have these social media frames that your parents or guardians or teachers can use to just help celebrate your accomplishment as a nominee, because like we've said time and time again, that is something to be celebrated. And we want to make sure y'all know how awesome it is that you've won this nomination to compete. Moving down, we have our JIC homepage here. So on the Thermo Fisher JIC homepage, you can find links to pretty much anything. The For Nominee page here is, I'll open that up in a second, but this is really has all the resources you would need as you're starting your application all in one spot for you. We have our Find a Fair link here as well. So if you haven't actually competed in your science fair yet and are just interested in applying in the future, you can find out what fairs are in your area on our Find a Fair website. We have the important dates for this year. Um, Everything from when the application is open to our winners announcement later in October. We have our, again, Find a Fair page linked here, eligibility and important information. I'm going to open that up in a second. And again, that nominees page, as well as our page on scientific integrity that applies to all of our competitions and all of our students that enter our programs. We have our highlights page. If you're an educator that happens to be tuning in tonight, we have a page just for educators that talks more about how to help students get involved in research, and has some guides for educators that are helping students do the application as well. And then at the very bottom here, we got really cool news articles as well, and media stories about our past winners. So check these out if you haven't seen it already. It just goes to show that, you never know by if you just submit an application where it could take you. You could be named a Time Kid of the Year honoree. You could be featured on the Kelly Clarkson Show or other, big news outlets across the country, national news outlets across the country. So it's pretty cool. And then we have links to our latest blog stories as well, like talking about our challenge experiences, and just what it's like to be a finalist. So that is a great resource. Try to get to, I'm going to minimize this for a second. All right, hopefully you see the eligibility and important information page now. This has a general FAQ about all of the stages of Thermo Fisher JIC. It lists out all of the prizes that are available, um, and just more frequently asked questions about the competition, how to enter, and things you might be curious about. We have our nominees page. Again, this is your primary resource as a nominee. We have our rules here. We have a PDF of the application. It's not going to look exactly like the full application system, but it'll help you just get a taste of what questions are asked in a kind of Word document format. And we have a link to our video resources, which is our YouTube channel, which I will navigate to next. And it's probably, you're seeing the live video right now. So I'm going to flip back to our homepage here. This is the Thermo Fisher JIC homepage. If you want to see any of our application walkthrough videos, we have a playlist. You can play them all or just click on the video that you want to watch to help you navigate different parts of the application. We have a playlist for all of our webinars from last year as well. And then if you want to see any upcoming webinars for this year, we'll create a new playlist. You can also go over to the live tab here, and this shows you all of our past webinars and any ones that we have scheduled to come up as well in this tab. From our nominees page, I'm going to go back here. You have our official rules. This is what that document looks like, so you know you're looking at the right thing. And then we have our ISEF page. So navigating to the top here, this is what the international rules webpage looks like. It has links to all of the different things that Alex and I mentioned. Our new AI usage guide. If you're an educator, we have a full educator's guide that walks through the ISEF rules as well. Um, all of the forms that copies of the forms that we use. And I want to highlight our ISEF rules wizard here. So this is a great tool if you're curious for the future. If you're interested in, doing a particular project, you can check off with this first question here, what will your experiment include? Based on everything that you check off, you will be prompted with all of the different paperwork and forms that ideally you would complete. From that main ISEF rules page, you can also navigate to the display and safety rules. This again is pretty ISEF specific, but if you scroll all the way down here, you'll find our I'm just going to open it up because I've already opened it, but you'll find the ISEF citations guide. And so this has all of the rules here. Again, we follow Regeneron ISEF rules. So though this is an ISEF form, it is applicable for Thermo Fisher JIC. And it has some really nice examples of all the different graphics you might have and what the correct citation looks like based on that graphic. And then lastly, this is a test application, but if you have already opened an account and an application, that's great. Right now in this test application, I have not, so you don't see any programs or you don't see any applications here. But this top part will look the same no matter what. So you navigate up here to pages and you can find our resources page. Again, has all the important links right here, easy to access while you're working on your application. We'll update this page too with our dates for the 2026 webinar series. And then we have our frequently asked questions here as well. And this has some of that guidance that Alex shared about how to convert documents into PDFs, notes about the visual aid, how to find, how to add your school if it's not listed in part 2. A lot of very commonly asked questions can be found right here. All right. And with that, I think it's time for us to take some questions. I know questions have been popping up already throughout the chat, and thanks so much to Alex for taking a stab at answering those. I'm going to pop in there to see if there's any new ones that come up. If you do have any, please feel free to type them in, and we'll take some questions now.
A question would be great to answer that we've gotten a few times is what format should folks be using for their citations? Do we have a preference for what format they use?
That's a great question. We do not have a preference. You are free to use MLA, APA. We're actually really flexible in the application itself. We know that you might, if you're just starting out on your research journey, you might not have experience with citations. So the primary thing that we want to see is just the sources you've used. You can link them, but any type of citation that you're comfortable with is acceptable. The biggest no-no there, right, again, is making sure that you do not use generative AI to create sources for this section in the application, this question in the application. And I'll also just throw out a word of caution that oftentimes if you're using AI, even just to clean up a citation and help with some of the formatting, be really careful and double check that everything, all the details are correct. We don't recommend doing that because it often does lead to mistakes and errors, which we don't want to see happen. Let's see. I see at least one question about making improvements to a project. And uh, going back to what I said earlier, and this is also outlined in the rules as well, you should not be making any improvements, any significant changes to your research project between the time of competing at your fair and earning a nomination and entering that project into Thermo Fisher JIC. Um, it really should be the same research question, the same variables tested, the same engineering design. What you can do is add data. So you can conduct more of the same trials. If it's an engineering project, you know, you can collect more user data for different um, iteration. You can just collect more user data if you have the proper approvals, I should say, to collect data from people testing out your application or device. But you should not be making any kind of improvements or significant changes to your research. And just reiterating that that's correct. You cannot update your methodology between entering your project at your fair, competing at your fair, and what we see ultimately, what you enter in the application. We won't be sharing the slide deck, but this video will be posted on our YouTube channel, so you can always go back and reference it. And again, all of the links are in the description of the video as well.
Yes, I'm seeing in the chat as well. So for the visual aid, there's no specific font size that we recommend, but you need to be able to see it 100% zoom. So if you think about it, if you were to take a picture of your board, which we don't allow, and put it on a screen, you would not be able to read it. So that idea, like we should limit it to 3 to 4 images per page, because then it can be seen clearly at 100% zoom on a computer screen, because that's how it will be evaluated.
All right, we're gonna just take one or two more questions. So we are almost at the end of our time. So seeing some questions about kind of next steps after JIC and maybe kind of within the competition as well. So just to reiterate the kind of evaluation process again, you've done your science and engineering project, right, at your fair. You're using that to enter the competition, fill out the online application. That online application is what our judges and evaluators will read and look at to determine the top 300 junior innovators and the top 30 finalists. So no additional information is needed between completing your application and those announcements. From finals week, after if you're selected as a finalist and you compete, we hope that you'll continue your research projects and move on, whether it's you're already in high school and hoping to compete at ISEF. We hope you do, or at least aim to aspire to compete at ISEF. And then if you have more years in middle school, we hope that you continue to compete at your local affiliated fairs and earn nominations to apply to Thermo Fisher JIC in the future. One thing that's in our rules, but we didn't go over, is even if you are selected as a top 30 finalist, you are eligible to compete again in the Thermo Fisher JIC in a future year if you do not win any top awards or any STEM or top awards at the competition. And of course, if you, as long as you earn a nomination again in the following year. Seeing a couple more questions about just adding to the project. Should not be adding anything new to your project. Um, let's
Yeah,
see.
seeing something about AI being involved in the research. Clarify how to cite it.
You should just make sure that in your methodology section, that's probably the best, or your background. There's a question in the application about kind of like the background of your research. Somewhere in that part 3, just be clear that, AI was used in your in the research of your project. As long as AI is not being used to write any application responses, you're good to go. But there's a specific question in the application that asks, how did you, like, what background research did you do before you started your actual experimentation? That's a great place to put it. Yes, you can have pictures of your invention in the visual aids. Pictures of anything that you might have, built or developed is a great use of the space in the visual aid. seeing a few questions here about just kind of general numbers. Each year we get roughly 2,000 applicants. So that's just to give you an idea, but that number changes from year to year. So in terms of adding anything to your research project for your state fair, you should definitely um, check in with your state fair's rules. Um, for our for the Thermo Fisher JIC, the project that earned you the nomination, so whether that's at your regional or your state fair, that's the project that you should be applying to JIC with. All right. We're going to answer this last question here about team projects. And then if you have more questions, you can always email us. But yes, and Alex is already on it in the chat. Team members do have to complete separate applications. So you should not enter with just one application. All right. Well, we're seeing a lot of the same questions here, so we're going to go ahead and wrap our webinar for tonight. If you have more questions or didn't get a question answered, you can always email us at jic@societyforscience.org or visit any of those resource pages that we've shared throughout today's call. You might find your answer easily available there. Thanks again for watching, everyone. And again, congratulations to each and every one of you for earning a nomination to compete in the Thermo Fisher JIC. This is a huge, huge accomplishment. You should be super proud of yourselves. We hope you'll take the next step by applying. Remember that there is nothing to lose and so many things to gain. The first of which is that entrant package that's going to come over the summer just by completing your application. You get a really cool t-shirt. So thanks again for watching, everyone. Good luck on your applications, and we hope to see you at the next one.